Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I say, oh, that's how technology works. So I think this is kind of an interesting story in the AI realm of be careful of these platforms. Make sure you understand how these platforms work, especially when you do something like creating a share link. So this comes from TechCrunch. Your public ChatGPT queries are getting indexed by Google and other search engines. And so this is kind of an interesting thing. The writer of the story is a horrible writer, so I'm not going to go through and quote it. But basically the idea here is for ChatGPT, when you're doing your queries, basically there was an option for you to be able to share those queries, right? So let's say you're working with a fellow student, you're doing a project with your peers, or you're doing something in business or whatever else. Basically, you want to go through, you want to do a query, and then you simply want to be able to share that relatively easily. You're able to click a button, and that would create a share link, right? So basically, chatgpt.com/share/whatever else, and then you could send that to whoever you wanted to send it to, and they could see what the results are and go from there, right? That seems to make a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Here's the weird problem. Here's the weird problem. Well, since you're actually creating URLs, right? You're creating links. If there's no robots.txt file to try to prevent things like search engines from indexing basically what you're creating, that means that could all then get indexed by Google, and then it could literally be searchable, right? So imagine if you're doing a set of queries for your business, right? And you're trying to figure something, you're using AI to figure out inventory control, or you're trying to figure out, again, the size of inventory, how much stuff you need to order, whatever else. And so you're going back and forth, and you're like, I should share this with my boss, or I should share this with a manager. So you click it and you share it. Are you thinking that when you create that share link, basically what you've created there could literally be indexed by Google, and somebody, if they did a particular type of search, would be able to pull up those results? Apparently, if you did a Google search and you filtered it by chatgpt.com/share, it would show all these chatgpt.com/share pages that were created. So anything that you had asked, would be there, all of the information and everything else. Which is just kind of an interesting thing to be thinking about with this modern world of artificial intelligence and how these systems work. Apparently, you can no longer do that. Hours after this article was published, OpenAI said it removed the feature from ChatGPT that allowed users to make their public conversations discoverable by search engines. The company says this was a short-lived experiment that ultimately, quote, introduced too many opportunities for folks to accidentally share things they didn't intend to. So that's the other thing to be thinking about, especially with these artificial intelligence companies, right? They're moving fast and breaking society. Right? The important thing is that they get their billions of dollars. That's what's most important here. Whatever they break along the way, you get to figure that out. This is another thing to be thinking about with a lot of these platforms, is they are introducing so many new features, so many things that you can do. And a lot of times it's not... Like, one of the things you have to think about with security is many times products will do exactly what they were designed to do, right? So when you think about security, when you think about bugs and we think about security problems, so many times you think about things like memory leaks or data not being sanitized, form input not being sanitized properly, that kind of thing, right? That's what you think about with security. One of the bigger issues you can have with security is that the system was actually coded perfectly, right? There are no injection attacks that are possible. There are no leaks that are possible. Everything actually does exactly what the hell it's supposed to do. The problem is that the end result offers things that you weren't thinking about. Again, this whole idea of search engines, indexing what you're doing, and then that being discoverable by other people online, right? That's not a coding problem. That is the output that's being created is an output that you might not fully realize what is going on there. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to be thinking about with a lot of these AI companies is basically as they start pushing more products and they start pushing more feature sets out there, how many times are the results that you're going to get not be fundamentally kind of secure results? You know, this whole question about things like security with what the AI is being trained on. The concept that, you know, when you're asking questions, is it being trained off of the questions that you're asking? Is it being trained off of how you're interacting with the system? Is it being trained from things like metadata and that type of stuff? And could there be security leaks and could there be problems with these systems in ways that you're just fundamentally not thinking that there might be problems? And so it's just one of those things to kind of consider as you're doing artificial intelligence and as you're thinking about implementing the systems, right? We've heard more and more, right? Sam Altman, I did a video yesterday talking about he wants 100 million GPUs. Apparently they're getting close to having put into production 1 million GPUs, and he wants to 100x that, right? The idea that AI is going to be used literally everywhere. What happens when this AI is being used everywhere and people don't really understand how it works? Again, with things like personally identifiable information. If you plugged in personally identifiable information into the ChatGPT query, if that could then be searched by Google, that may release, you know, social security numbers and all that kind of stuff. Are people fully considering that type of thing? I think about this with technology. There's something called shadow IT, and this could be a very big concern for CIOs and CTOs going in the future. And so the idea with shadow IT is that when you have your normal IT department, you have rules and you have regulations and there's laws and that type of thing that you have to comply with. So many times when you set up a user's systems, they'll only be able to do certain things. They'll have certain quotas and that type of deal. Well, the problem is you get the director of marketing, you get the director of HR, you get the director for sales or whatever else, and then they need to do something, or they feel like they need to do something that the current infrastructure doesn't allow them to do. Well, here's the deal. They can either go and they can argue with the IT director, or they can argue with the CIO or CTO, most likely get shut down after they spend all the time and energy and be really frustrated, or they can swipe their credit card, right? If you're dealing with salespeople or even marketing people, a lot of them get bonuses, and they get massive bonuses, either bonuses or commissions. And we talk about these commissions, we'd be talking about tens of thousands of dollars per quarter, right? And so they might be sitting there and they're thinking, well, you know, it's one of the big things before 10 years ago was things like storage, right? We need a better way of having people be able to transfer data or whatever else, and so Dropbox will do it. And so if you're the director of marketing or the director of sales and you're looking at it and you're like, look, I can get into a stupid ass argument with the IT director and he's going to shut me down just because he likes shutting people down, or I can swipe my credit card and for $20 a month, I have a data store that I completely control, right? That will do everything that I need to do. They just swipe their credit card. But here's the thing. Now all of a sudden, you have all of this data that is going through systems that basically your IT department has no visibility into, has no ownership over, has no visibility into, and it's just there, right? This can be a big issue. This can be a big issue from a competitive standpoint. What happens if you have a salesperson and he puts his own team onto his own CRM solution? So your company, I don't know what, Microsoft Dynamics, is that still around? Anyways, your company uses Salesforce or whatever else, and it doesn't quite do what you want it to do, right? It doesn't quite do what a salesperson wants it to do. So they swipe their credit card and they buy some other CRM solution. Let's say $10 a month. There's some cheap CRM solution that does everything they need. So they just swipe their credit card. They pay for the CRM solution for them and their team. Cost them $50 a month, something like that. Hey, they're getting $20,000 per quarter in commission or bonuses. Fine. Here's an interesting thing. What happens when that sales manager decides to leave the company? Here's the reality. When that salesperson decides to leave the company, they own that CRM account. Not only do they own the CRM account, but all the information that CRM account they can just pick up and walk away with. And when they pick up and they walk away with it, I mean, they don't want users from your company fucking with their data. So they just lock out the team because it's their account, not the company's account. And now they can take that entire account over to your competitors. And it's going to be a very, very bad day for you, right? That's one of the issues you get to with something like shadow IT. What becomes curious here with this whole idea of shadow IT is what happens when nurses are told that they really need to use IT or AI? What happens when HR people are really told they need to use AI? What happens when these people that are either dealing with proprietary information or personal information or all of this kind of stuff, they are told they need to use AI, they need to get on the AI bandwagon? What happens when they just start swiping their credit cards in order to get things accomplished? What happens when you have shadow AI? AI systems your company doesn't even know exists and has no visibility into. I think that's going to be one of the interesting questions for the next couple of years. So what do you think about this? What do you think about ChatGPT allowing people to create links, and those links were accessible by the Google and Bing and all the other search engines? Do you think that was a good idea or possibly a poor one? What do you think about the concept of shadow IT going into the age of artificial intelligence? Does that make you a wee bit nervous? And what do you think about these companies too? Again, where they keep throwing all these products against the wall. I think that's one of the most curious things. Doing the Silicon Dojo classes, when I was doing the Silicon Dojo classes, so many times when I did AI classes, the biggest pain in the butt is even if I repeated them like after 3 months. So I create the slides or whatever, and then we repeat it after a few months. That there would be so many changes with even within a short amount of time, that it was difficult to keep up with the classes. And I think about with so many of these AI products is they just keep coming out with more and more and different. How do you think that affects the actual usability? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Leave us a thumbs up. Leave us a thumbs down. Say I'm amazing. Say I'm a dumbass. Just say it down in the comments. Because remember, it's the modern world of YouTube. All that matters is that interaction. Do remember, silicondojo.com exists. We are having a fireside chat with a CTO and a co-founder of an integrations company. That is going to be on Wednesday, a few days from now. So we're going to talk about actually deploying AI into their systems and how well it did or did not work. The week after, we're going to have the VP for AI models for IBM on, again, to have another conversation about AI models and what exactly IBM is doing in the modern world. And that's all I got. So with that, see y'all later.